are actually committed to seeing a united, integrated, peaceful, and stable Africa. Now, swinging quickly into the discussions on hand, I would want to come from an African or a Pan-African perspective and the policy direction of the Pan-African Youth Union as far as the Nile and the countries within the Nile Basin is concerned. First and foremost, we believe in harmony, unity, and then the collectivism on the continent. That means that for all countries that are within the Nile Basin, Uganda, Burundi, Kenya, Sudan, Egypt, Ethiopia, and all the 11 countries, we believe that every country has got a right to the usage of the Nile. Every country have got the right to optimize the opportunities that the Nile presents. We also believe that countries would need to develop a mutual relationship, one anchored on respect and one anchored on the ideals of Pan-Africanism, seeing that every African country is a member of the African Union and is part of a collective big family. Now, if you take the issues of the Nile and you follow the conversations from the pre-colonial era till now, we understand that there's been some unique challenges in respect of how the Nile and its resources or its potentials are being appropriated. We also know as young people that Egypt, Ethiopia, Uganda, and all other countries, Sudan, have got their own reservations about how the Nile is supposed to be used. Now, but coming from a Pan-African point of view, we believe that every country has got the right to use the Nile in a sustainable but beneficial way. If you look at a country like Ethiopia, Sudan, Egypt, the Nile serves serious strategic interest to all these countries. It therefore means that these countries would need to build consensus on how the Nile is being used. And these countries would have to come to the table on the basis of mutual respect and on the basis of fairness, on the basis of equity, and on the basis of their strategic national interests. Therefore, we think that the supposed water war that we have seen academics, researchers, political actors, security players put on the table is one that is avoidable, is one that African countries can address without a major conflict. Of course, if you grow in a family or even if you live in a house with your siblings, your brothers and sisters, your interests vary from person to person. But you don't kill yourselves because your sister likes blue and you like yellow. You find a way of blending. And that's why for us at the Pan-African Youth Union, we believe that that spirit of unity, that spirit of an integrated Africa, that spirit of Pan-Africanism should drive the collective African development agenda that we envisage. Because if we look at the ideals and the principles or the priority areas of Agenda 2063, we cannot achieve sustainable development. We cannot achieve a developed Africa, a united Africa, when African countries cannot even build consensus around a natural resource that we all view as collectively ours. I come from the Republic of Ghana. I have an interest in the Nile because if the Nile Basin is destabilized, West Africa automatically will be destabilized. because countries like Sudan, countries like Egypt, countries like Ethiopia have got a direct relationship and connection with West Africa. And so instability in any part of our African continent has got an effect directly or indirectly on countries outside that region. And that's why we believe, of course, the Nile has enormous potential to cure the issues of water challenges, to cure the issues of food insecurity, to cure the issues of climate change, and even the energy needs. And we believe that countries must approach the usage of the Nile through dialogue, sitting down as brothers and sisters, sitting down as a homogeneous group with different interests, but having an honest, candid opinion on how the Nile is supposed to be used. Remember that the challenges that we are currently facing has got an external influence. And when I say external influence, the colonialists, when they came into Africa, had their own agenda. And like the argument has been going on, a template that is being set for Africa by colonialists cannot be a basis for mutually beneficial discourse among countries, because a colonialist pact that is put in place cannot apply to an independent Uganda, an independent Burundi, an independent Sudan, Ethiopia, and so on and so forth, because they become sovereign countries with specific or different strategic interests. But there's one paramount thing that we must all recognize, and that paramount thing is first that we look at ourselves as Africans and how the close to 70% of young people can benefit from the productive and resources that the Nile presents. And that's why I say that as Africans, we need to find a rallying platform, come to the table, sit down and have a conversation. I think that Ethiopia has the right to dam the Nile, just as Egypt has got the right to use the Nile for its sustainability or its survival, just like Sudan has got the right to use the Nile. So if the actions of Sudan or the actions of Ethiopia will affect the livelihood and survival of Egypt, it means therefore that Egypt, Ethiopia, Sudan, Uganda, Burundi, and all the other countries would then need to come to the table to say, look, we are brothers, we have an interest in this collective resource. How do we utilize this resource in a sustainable way that does not affect the livelihood of country A? But in doing so, I don't think that any of the countries within the Nile Basin is interested in sacrificing the welfare of their citizens, the strategic interests of their countries for another country. And that is why we must be in a position to sit down and talk and look at a win-win basis of doing things based on empirical data, verifiable data, based on scientific processes. That says that, look, Ethiopia can dam in a way that will not affect the flow of the Nile, that would have an effect on Egypt. Sudan can use the Nile, but will not have that in a way that will not affect Ethiopia, in a way that will not affect all the other countries within the region. So these are going to be my very initial comments, and so that as the conversation proceeds, we can chip in based on data that we have. So Salah.
Yeah, nice. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bini. Okay, now we are, he just give us a brief and he will give us the written discussion. We are going for the next speaker, Mr. Khalid. He will be going to talk with 10 minutes and then we can jump in. So, welcome, Mr. Khalid.
Thank you, Mr. Salah, and all the panelists. Thank you very much. I would like first, let me start by thanking you and thanking all the organizers. And I'm really privileged to be part of this discussion panel. And I think this is a historic day in Africa, because the young people are trying to get involved in the main issues which is a challenge for Africans and which is causing a lot of problems in Africa. And for me, really, because the dam, when you talk about the dam is constructed and it's built in my own land, where I am from. I'm from Benishangul, and for those, and I know that, most of you don't know that, and I don't look Ethiopian because I'm Sudanese. But I would like to start from historical perspective. The scramble for Africa, which is starting in the conference of 1884 and 1885. After the conference, which was held in Berlin by the Europeans, Ethiopia was the only country that has participated in that conference. And when Ethiopia was participating in that conference, it wasn't the current Ethiopia, and it wasn't with this name even. Not the name, not with the current border. But at that time, it used to be called Abyssinia. And Abyssinia, when you talk about Abyssinia, it is not with the current border. It was only the area which is called Amhara and the Tigrians and the Addis Ababa area, beside the Wallo. But all these areas, when Europeans came and they invaded the entire continent of Africa and they distributed Africa, they sliced Africa between all European countries. Ethiopia, the Emperor Menelik, he said, even after he participated, and then in 1891, he distributed a letter. He sent a letter to all European countries, stating the border of his empire, which was up to Khartoum, and from Khartoum it goes to the southern Sudan, and it's going to Kenya. And all these areas were not part of Abyssinia at the time, because he was only in Addis Ababa in that short areas. And based on that letter, which was distributed in 1891, Ethiopia has become expansionist. They went and they invaded many free nations, like in southern Ethiopia, in Benishangul, in Afar, in all these areas, the same way that the Britain or the United Kingdom and all Europeans came and invaded Africa. Ethiopia, Menelik had done the same thing. So when the Benishangul was invaded in 1898, and many people were killed, and until then, there is nothing called Ethiopia. There was something called Abyssinia. Because they are highlanders. They are called highlanders. Amara and the Tigrians and all these people. And what happens then, was a disaster for Africans, because when the colonizers went out of Africa, Ethiopia didn't free those those countries and the nations were occupied by Menelik, by highlanders. The same way, I believe that, the same way all the countries, the European countries left Africa. Ethiopia was supposed to leave all other nations alone, without being controlled and colonized. The entire African people, have been speaking about the overseas or the Western colonization, but they haven't spoken about the internal colonization, which was head by the Abyssinians. And the African Union, the Center of Organization of African Union, when it was formed, which became African Unity and became African Union, is located in Addis Ababa. So that's why Abyssinians are using this organization for their own benefit. And the when the people say, the entire world says that, a certain country is a threat to the world security and the stability and the peace, I believe as African and as someone who is from the Horn of Africa, that Abyssinians are the threat for the African peace and stability. And when I say this, it is not emotional talk. When I say this, it is not emotional talk. I say it because Ethiopia always have been cooperating with the Westerns when they came to Africa. Imagine someone who participated in Berlin Conference in 1884 to slice Africa didn't stand against that policy. Because when the European came, the Menelik said, I'm going to turn a blind eye on the Western's colonization in Africa. But at the same time, I'm going to take my share. And his share is like Benishangul, Ogaden, Southern nations. And that's why when you see Ethiopia is the most destabilized country in the history of Africa, because there is no common ground between all these nations. Oromos, they stand for themselves. Amaras, they stand for themselves. Tigrans, they stand for themselves. Ogadens, they stand for themselves. Culturally, language-wise, in every aspect of life, culture or everything, there is no common ground that can link these people together. So no matter how people will talk about this, Ethiopia one day will never be together, no matter, because Ethiopia will be in problem and in chaos always. And even when we come and we talk about the dam, because I want to. How many minutes do you have, Salah?
You have 5 minutes.
Okay. When we come and we talk, that is one part which I talked about. And when we come and talk about this dam it didn't start today. In 1924, there was a dam which was a suggestion of building a dam by Britain and Ethiopia, and where the emperor at the time said that they are going to build a dam on their own money, where they can control the entire water and they sell it to the neighboring countries. And that happened. That was in 1924. Imagine, in 1924, that was still Abyssinia. And when after the invasion of, I'm trying to summarize it more. And after the invasion of Italy and Ethiopia became part of the League of Nations, and then the correspondence with the international communities, it started after 1935 as Ethiopia. Before 1935, always all the books and all the documents that has been written, and until then, it always says Abyssinia, because there is nothing called Ethiopia. All these people who were colonized at the time at the time of the scramble for Africa were not part of Ethiopia, because everybody was trying to get away from the colonization of Abyssinians. And today, what the plan of Abyssinians in the region, it is not about development only. Because if it is about the development, the region where the construction of the dam is taking place, these people, since the invention in 1898, have been disregarded. There is no any development. There is no any kind of schools. There is nothing. The only time that they started building a school is after the fall of Mengistu regime, when the Benishangul People Liberation Movement came as part of the government after the fall of Mengistu. They came back and they started building schools. But although they didn't continue because they were arrested and they were arrested, most of them they were killed, and for no reason, just because they don't look the same way as Abyssinians. And for my friend panels, have you seen anyone in the Ethiopian TV looking like me? And not only that, in the history of, if you see low Omo people, you will see different people. You'll see people like Southern Sudanese or like pure African. And there are many facts that my brother Africans need to know. that Ethiopia never considered itself as part of Africa. They always think that they're superior to Africans. And that's why they didn't pay any respect to those indigenous people in Africa like us and like Low Omo. And when we talk about the dam, Ethiopia has built 3 dams across the Omo Valley, Omo River Valley. And you know that in Kenya, in the northern part of Kenya, there is Lake Turkana, and there are people there. And those people, they are relying on that lake, the desert lake. And it is the only desert lake that remains in Africa after Chad Lake. So these people, these Ethiopians, they didn't have any consideration for the people who are living in that lake, Turkana, or any consideration to the Turkana people. And what happened now, they built 3 dams, Gilgil 1, Gilgil 2, Gilgil 3. And those dams now has affected the ecosystem of the area. People, all the resources, all the fishery, the people who were living there, and the cattle all has now died, and the people left the area. And the same thing is just what Ethiopia is planning to do against the Sudan and Egypt. And in Benishangul, now I'm going to send you some photos which can show the atrocities that committed now today, not yesterday.
Okay, that's fine. That's we can come to that to show that photos after we will.
Okay, very good.
Another
now today, because of the dam, there are many atrocities and the genocide that is taking place against my people, and all this is done, and the world has witnessed that, and the embassies. You know, imagine the last September or October, they killed over 600 people in one day only, in an area called Jawe. And nowadays, every second, there is atrocity committed because the Highlanders, those who are thinking they are superior to all Africans, because they wanted to deprive our own people from their own land, and they get control of the dam, and they get closer to the dam because they know if the dam is completed, there are a lot of developments that is going to be there. So they wanted to deprive our people from that area. And what they did, they're trying to force our people to go back to Sudan, because this area is part of the Sudan, and historically. And when it was invaded in 1898, that the British people, the British government, used Benishangul as the scapegoat, and because they didn't want to confront France, who was trying to occupy the Nile Valley.
Okay, our time is not helping us out to.
If you can give me a few minutes, and I will finish.
We come back. We are coming back to you after we will hear to another speaker. Then we can.
Okay, no problem. 1 minute just to sum up, and then then give me 1 minute to sum up. Okay, so, whoever think that African problem can be solved in just a talk or a meeting, he is wrong. The only way as African, you know, when Europeans now became Europeans, because they solved each detailed problem among themselves. For us as Africans, we cannot be colonized by internal colonizer, and they keep quiet and they say, yes, it is okay to be colonized by Highlanders, and they say that the peace will be there. There will not be any peace. So the only way to create peace in the entire continent of Africa, those who are claiming that they are colonized and they are harassed by others, has to be freed. They have to be free nation, and that is the only time that we can create peace in Africa.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Khalid. Now we are going to our third panelist, Mr. Yafit. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Let's go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I would love to say, I would like to share my condolence to those who have lost their loved ones by this pandemic all over Africa and all over the world. And to my Muslim brothers, I would love to say Ramadan Kareem. After saying that, I would love to focus on not on the point which I mentioned now by Dr. Khalid, I think. But I would have to be on the concept note. But I will get back to that, to the point that Mr. Khalid had mentioned. Basically, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is being built in the Ethiopian territory, and it's going to give, it's going to generate over 5,000 megawatts, which is going to be used. Totally, is going to cover the whole electricity of the country. Currently, including Benishangul, as my friend Mr. Khalid knows, they don't have electricity. Wherever in the countryside you see about 75 million people in Ethiopia doesn't have any electricity. While Sudan and Egypt were using the water for many years. Not only that, in 1983, when Ethiopia was facing a famine, which made her lose about 1.2 million people. Those countries which are the downstream countries were enjoying, based on the scientific fact that both the dams that have been used by Egypt and Sudan, especially in the Aswan, if you see Aswan Dam, there is an evaporation of 10 billion cubic meters per year. Now, when you see the reservoir that it has and the amount of electricity it's generating and how much it is being dismantled, the water being dismantled there, I think it was a very good thing that Ethiopia started this war against poverty. Basically, as one Ethiopian that I can tell you, after losing 1.2 million people of famine and drought, I don't have any enemy. Any Ethiopian that doesn't have any enemy than poverty and hunger. The only enemy we have is poverty. We are trying to fight poverty. But anyone who's on the line, on the road to block us from achieving the goals that we have set it up, we will remove it and continue. That's how we have been doing. On the issue of the Nile specifically, those days, as you can remember, we were having a discussion with negotiation with Egypt and Sudan, while the U.S. was monitored, was what do you call it, observing. But first of all, the U.S. going as an observer. Based on the 2015 agreement, the three countries will be the one who decide if they need a third party to come and be part of the table. But the U.S. came in as not a negotiator, but the United States came as an observer. And at the middle of the day, now we're hearing that the United States, the World Bank and the Treasury have prepared a document, which is a bit funny. Not only being funny, it is out of international law. Therefore, the big thing that we have to understand is that Ethiopia got out of the negotiation because it is not following the international law and international steps. Not only that, the 2015 agreement, yesterday the United Nations Secretary General has clearly stated that the United Nations, the 2015 agreements should be respected, which is, as we all know, has been stated in Article 10, I think, that Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt can negotiate at any time, but when they think that they are in deadlock, they can ask, those three countries all together can ask someone, not when Abdul Fattah, His Excellency Abdul Fattah Sisi, go to the White House and have a cup of tea and then invite the United States. When His Excellency Dr. Abiy, His Excellency from Sudan, His Excellency Mr. and others gathering together and choose a third party. That's how it happens. Not when someone came out and go around and ask someone. First of all, that's the point. I think it's triggering to answer Mr. Khalid questions, but I don't want to give. You know, some of the comments that I'm really fascinated with about is in 1884, Ethiopia has sat down with the Europeans. That's very very funny. Means that I would love to read where you have read that book, and how come Ethiopia doesn't ask so the whole Somalia, the whole Kenya, because there is Oromo, there is Oromo here, and there is lots of lands that Ethiopia can ask. How come that Ethiopia didn't ask? Because the amount, when there are historically carbon dated books, written letters of King Menelik, which he sent to King Tona and others. So I would be very glad to know those things. But when I came back to the question, I would love to show you one thing in order for you all to understand what is going on for the last few years. It is related to can you see? Salah, can you see?
Yeah. What do you want?
No, share my.
It's there now. You can use it. Yeah, you can share it.
Yafet, continue.
Simple, so that anyone can understand. Simple.
Excuse me, Mr. Yavit, can you just share us that if you have a PDF? That because that the videos is not the voice is not clear for each one, and it will absolutely affect the panel discussion. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
The basic points we need to see. Since Ethiopia what colonial system for all the countries, for example, agreement British that agreement. Even the slashing down, the slashing making a mistake. I think how Ethiopia become a member of the group. We as Africans, born in Benishangul, our ancestors have fought their heart from their bottom of their heart to the independence of this state, which is called Ethiopia. Not only that, they have given their blood not only for King Menelik. I think Menelik stated it. He's old and he doesn't care if he dies or not. But the basic point was he was fighting for the independence of each state. But the only thing he can do is keeping his independent state. So he fought and he won. By the time, by the way, still there was a king and from that area, Benishangul area. His name is very famous in Addis Ababa. So even this history, I don't know where he reads it and where he wrote it. But I think it's sometimes it's just like the thing that I hear always, and it's always making me laugh. There is something which they call historical rights. You know, in the whole international world, if you go anywhere, there is nothing such thing called internationally known historical rights. Now, historical rights are being defined by some countries. Now, when I see Mr. Khalid is coming from that perspective or not, I don't know. But what I can say is that this dam is being built not only for Ethiopia, in general, it's being built for the rest of East Africa. Whether Mr. Khalid knows about the Highlanders or the Somalians and the others, all of them are building this dam in order to fight poverty. And as I said before, there is nothing, we don't have any enemy in Ethiopia. Also in Africa as a whole, we don't have any enemy. No, we are not enemy to each other. Our biggest enemy is poverty. Now, when we're trying to fight this kind of thing, a colonial mentality, and some I don't know, even if there is a book which states what Mr. Khalid stated, so I'm not going to give comment from now on about that. But I can say one thing. He have asked one question that, have you ever seen anyone who looks like you, looks like me in Ethiopian television? Yes, we used to see, even I've worked with him. His name is Yaragan Laishefu. May God rest him in peace.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'm very sorry, but you have given 16 minutes to Mr. Khalid. So can I talk, please?
I'm coming back to you. Don't worry.
I'm talking 11 minutes. So can I talk for the additional 4 minutes, because I was watching my watch and gave it. Okay.
We will come back to all of you. Just let Dr. Bull from Uganda, and then we can come back again to the panelists. Thank you very much. Come on, Mr. Bull.
Yes, Salah, you can hear me?
Yes, come on.
Thank you very much, and I would like to welcome the rest of the panelists. Thanks for the deliberation. But I would request that we keep ourselves, I think, to the topic. Yeah? Salah?
Yes, come on. Go ahead.
You can see me? Are you seeing me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it is better we keep ourselves to the topic rather than going into the historical and the colonial demarcations, because I suggest that every country in Africa, the boundaries that they have now are not the initial boundaries that we used to have. You understand? In Uganda, there are so many areas that, the colonials that cut off from us, but let's not get into that. I would like us to stick to the issue of the Nile. Yeah, because the Nile happens to have its source, of course, in Uganda, Kampala, around Jinja, which is the source of the Nile. But if we are to discuss the beneficial aspects of this resource as pertaining to an independent state or an independent country, then issues of mutual respect, issues of openness must play. When all these countries gained their independence in their respective years, the aspects of colonial agreements ceased, to be a point of discussion. So, in the Nile conflicts, in most cases, you hear Egypt and Sudan claiming absolute rights over the Nile. Now, that is absolutely wrong, because the people in Egypt and our brothers in Sudan cannot command me in Uganda who is seeing the Nile, they can't stop me from using it. But the best way to serve the interests in the true spirit of Pan-Africanism is actually dialogue, and dialogue that is based on mutual interest. Like our brother from Ghana that clearly stated it. The issues of Africa cannot be sorted in the United States. The issues of Africa cannot be sorted in Canada or the United Kingdom. The issues of Africa must be sorted in Africa by Africans. Now, where the challenge comes in is when someone starts seeking influence of a foreign Western power, then they're doing what we call influence peddling. They're trying to underlook the rest of Africans, and they want to force decisions, not through mutual respect, but through coercion. Now, the issue of, we have data, we have sciences, our people have studied. It's a matter of sitting together as brothers and sisters and agree and say, look, you people from Uganda or Ethiopia, Sudan, Egypt, and all other countries that are around the Nile Basin, that since we are all brothers from the African race, what can we do to make sure that all of us benefit from this resource equally without conflicts? Now, if someone is talking about the pre-colonial or the post-colonial agreements, those ones, the pre-colonial agreements cannot stand now. Otherwise, if you go to Egypt, I can say that right now the Suez Canal is not under the command of the British, but they had a right, back in the day. So we should center our discussion on how harmoniously can we share this resource without coercion, without flexing muscles, because flexing muscles can never and will never solve this problem. So, Sarah, it is my honor to continue. I'm still following the discussion, and I will be commenting as we go along. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So, okay, we are jumping also to Mr. Benin to share his ideas for after he listening to the panelists. Then after that, we will listening to Mr. Emmanuel Joseph, and then finally we can open the questions for each one. Thank you very much. Come on, Mr. Benin.
Let me begin by saying that both Khalid and Yafet come from different historical perspectives. However, as Africans, the history that they both narrate or put on the table has not benefited Africa post-independence. The new Africa is transcending or moving beyond the colonial relics and pacts that have been kept before us. The new African is looking at eliminating poverty. The new African is looking at how to develop partnerships and business relationships among young people across the board to ensure that we eliminate poverty, we have sustainable development, we have food security, and we have a united and integrated Africa. That should be the preoccupation of the young people of the continent. And that's why I agree with my colleague from Uganda to say the conversation here as young people should take two simple dimensions. How do we promote that sense of oneness, that sense of unity and cohesion? How do we promote that sense of young people coming together around the table to develop businesses using the potentials of the Nile? Because if there's fish in the Nile, the Sudanese cannot exploit it alone. The Ethiopians cannot exploit it alone. The Egyptians cannot. If the Nile brings irrigation, the climates are different. Different crops are grown in different parts of the Nile. How do we ensure that the young people are able to utilize the Nile in a constructive and economic way, in a sustainable way, so that we are able to share the benefits and the profits that come out of the Nile? Because remember, in all this, in all this his historical controversies and conflict, there's one thing that is clear. Once Africans begin to divide themselves along colonial lines, once Africans begin to reminisce on the deliberate balkanization of the continent, what we are doing is putting Africa back on a silver platter for these colonialists, for these imperialists, for these European powers to take advantage of our natural resources. That is what we are doing. And that is why when you take Sudan, you take the South Sudan, you take these imperialists, these colonialists would keep coming every now and then. They are not interested in a dam that's being constructed that will provide power for the majority of Africans that are in darkness. They are interested in how they put you amongst each other and supply you weapons to kill yourselves, and then they can take advantage of our natural resources. Imperialists and colonialists are not interested in the growing population of Africa, the growing development of Africa, the growing innovation of Africa. That is why young people around the table, not just limited to the Nile Basin, but young people across the entire Africa, because I have an interest to move from Ghana and go to Sudan or Egypt or Ethiopia and be able to start a project along the Nile. Now, we know that one of the biggest challenges of this continent is electricity, because electricity is needed to power the continent. Why can't Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, and all the other countries sit around the table and say, look, guys, why don't we develop one huge hydro dam, whether in River Congo, whether on the Nile, to ensure that we are able to share power? We are able to create a pool of power. Why can't we say that Sudan historically had a very huge irrigation project? The irrigation project is dying. Why can't we say, consistent with Agenda 2060, yes, are you with me, Salah?
Yeah, come on.
So that countries along the Nile, countries within the Nile Basin, countries in Africa can take advantage of the irrigation potential that the Nile provides to reduce unemployment, to reduce poverty, to eradicate starvation and hunger on the continent. These are the things that as Africans we should be looking at. But the reality is that African countries have dwelled too much on sovereignty issues. African countries have dwelled so much on the historical controversy and the historical balkanization of this continent to fight among themselves and forget the major issues on the table. That is, how do African young people put food on the table? I think that is what we should be talking about here. Because if we cannot be talking about bread and butter issues, and then we are talking about political might, we are talking about which territory belongs to which country. That's what my brother in Uganda said. I come from the to the present day Ghana. And there are some parts of Burkina Faso that did not belong to the present day Burkina Faso. And the same applies to the Sudan, the same applies to Egypt, the same applies to Ethiopia and so many other countries. And that's why we cannot be talking about African integration. We cannot be talking about the unity of Africa at the same time talking about the balkanization and the boundaries of Africa. We should be talking about how we bring all our resources as a collective to promulgate and promote Agenda 2063. Now, finally, what I will say is that the Nile Basin and the 11 countries that share the Nile, the tributaries and the entire Nile, have got enormous potential and enormous capacity to change the fortunes of the African continent. We cannot change the fortunes of the African continent when we are battling amongst ourselves as to who owns what. We can only change the fortunes of Africa through mutual respect, consensus building, and the spirit of Pan-Africanism. What is that spirit of Pan-Africanism? That spirit of African Renaissance, of recognizing that Egypt Sudan. Sudan is Ethiopia. Ethiopia is Kenya. Kenya is Uganda, and Uganda is Tanzania.
Very good.
And this is what we should be looking at. But Salah, let me reassure every young person that is listening to us to say that we are building a new Africa that I see myself as a Sudanese, I see myself as an Ethiopian, I see myself as a Ugandan, and that ultimately means that I don't see myself as a Ghanaian, I see myself as an African. And I see myself as a young person that is willing to build partnerships with Yafit in Ethiopia, with Khalid in Sudan, and with my brother in Doctor in Uganda, to build an Africa that will empower young people economically, that we can use the gold in Ghana, the diamonds and platinum in South Africa, and the water resources in Ethiopia and Sudan to propel Africa onto the path of growth and development.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Bain. Thank you. So now we are going to take the questions from the audience. We have engineering Abdullah Terbu from UK. Can you hear me, Abdullah? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Salah, and thank you everyone here. And I'm really appreciate this, and I'm really happy to be here. This is my son. He's very noisy today. Yeah. I'm really happy to discuss this important issue in Africa, and I think this is a good way to present our issues, and we could discuss more issues, important issues in Africa in the next years and next days.
We can't hear anything because of that. Oh, sorry. I thought that other people are opening the mic.
Okay. We can come back to you, Dr. Engineering Abdullah. So let me now here to go for Miss Hajj. Miss Hajj from Egypt. Are you hearing me? Hello, we can now.
Yeah, now I can. Can I go back? Can I come back now?
Yes, come on.
Okay, sorry about that. And as I said, this is important issue, and we like generation. We feel ourselves a new generation in Africa. We should thinking out of the box to solve our problems, and Africa really need new ideas. We've got a lot of resources, but unfortunately, Africa is still poor. And we need more unity and more new ideas to develop our countries. Now for these dams, I know Ethiopia has right to build the dam, and also Ethiopia should consider the public interest for the other countries like Sudan and Egypt. And if we need to go deeper for this issue, now I need to ask a question about, now the problem is, Sudan doesn't have a problem for Ethiopia, and I think the problem is all the problem now with Sudan and Egypt, Ethiopia and Egypt, is the duration of the fill the dam. I need to ask the guys is close of this issue. Does Ethiopia going to fill the dam without signing any agreement with the Sudan and Ethiopia, or need to go for deep negotiation, another negotiation, and after that fill the dam? And what will be happen if Ethiopia fill the dam and they're not sign an agreement with the Egypt and Sudan? What will be happen?
That's very important question. Okay, your question is very clear. So the Yafit from Ethiopia is going to answer this question. Okay, I'm going to give the chance to the Yafit in 2 minutes to answer this question, and then we can go to the another question. Come on, yeah.
Okay, thank you. The Pan-African concept.
Go ahead, Yafit.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, come on.
Okay. So the Pan-African concept of building any infrastructure for the thinking about the rest of the countries is the main objective of building the Ethiopian Renaissance data.
I'm sorry, Mr. Yafit. Can you go to the direct question, direct answer? The man who asked that was Ethiopia will
his question starts with that, so I'm trying to answer it. So if you didn't interrupt, I will finish answering. So, Salah, thank you. So what I'm saying is that in order to fill the dam, this first thing you have to understand is that the GERD is an investment of each dollar. The investment needs to be returned very soon. And this done, Ethiopia, thanks to Sudan, we have a kind of agreement. And the panel of experts have clearly stated the problems and more places where it needs more research. Therefore, we have fulfilled those places and we have opened it for the experts, different experts, visited the exact place, take a laboratory and other measures to understand how it is being viewed, seen every step, and at the end, the argument is started, as you mentioned, on the refilling of the dam, how it is going to be refilled. The first question is, now this argument of refilling the dam, starting the refilling of the dam, it started because the first thing is, we have finished 72% of the dam. We need to use the turbines and start the electricity right now. So the 2 turbines are going to start in the coming October. If we start refilling it by the coming two months, rainy seasons in Ethiopia, we can start generating electricity, and we can, mobilize the economy faster now. And if we start that, the cost which is taken right now will be, because the economy is going to bring more foreign currency and working more on the industrial park that you are working on. So basically what is happening is that Ethiopia is going to start with or without, because Article 5 clearly stated it. And as Prime Minister of His Excellency Hamduk and His Excellency Dr. Abiy have discussed last time, we need an agreement. We agree that we need an agreement. But the problem is, one thing everybody should understand is that whenever we're sitting on the table to discuss an agreement which our generation can make, Egypt specifically, we can name it. Egypt is bringing 1929 and 1959 agreements, which are old, and if we go based on that, we should also ask whether if Swiss Canal should be privatized to a British company, which has been stated by the ancient times, as we know, or are we still going to make it as a public income, like what is happening right now? Because it's not going to happen. A colonial treaties, especially the one independent country like Ethiopia, have never been colonized and never had such kind of agreements with any colonies. Because if you go based on the colonies, there is a tripartite agreement, which includes sharing all. Well, they did it, the Italians didn't get in, but they have made an agreement with British how to divide Ethiopia. 3 parts how they can divide it. But this whole thing was, they are not going to be implemented. And one thing that should be clear is that, specifically on these agreements, because there is something which is blurred to everyone, and whenever you hear it in media, that it seems that it does exist. But there is no historical right at all. So let's put that and discuss how other countries, even including Sudan, can use. And always that we must take care in responding one word. The word which says Egypt and Sudan have a right as a downstream country. No, all countries have a right to use the Nile. When we have consensus on that, The argument that whether Ethiopia is going to have the reservoir of 2 billion cubic meter or some kind of cubic meter will never be an issue because you know that someone is going to use the other part.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yama. Thank you very much. So, okay, I'm going. We're having questions from Ethiopia, Mr. David. But before David, I can go to the Mr. Shan. He's a journalist from South Sudan Republic. So we can listen to him. Come on, Mr. Shan.
Brother Salah, thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope everyone is listening to me. I have problem of light. Our electricity is off now.
Yeah, it's okay.
I hope you are hearing me.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank you, Mr. Salah, for inviting me, and also I want to welcome the panelists from Ethiopia and the other brothers country, like Mr. Benin, who is the SG of of Pan Africa. I'm very happy to see you in this panel. What I want to say about the Nile and Ethiopia dams, I want to agree that with from Uganda and from Ethiopia, that every country are sharing the Nile has a right to use the Nile water. We should sit down and handle our to the like European, America, and other countries. This is not right for African. I agree with those brothers, with the people who talk about this issue. What I want to say about of Ethiopia, that is and Egypt, because the dams benefit members of African countries and Egypt, Sudan. I believe on that the dams can benefit them in terms of electricity and other issues, and even the what is called the tourism. This thing can benefit us, but the question, there are effects that can affect Sudan and Egypt. Climate change of
yes, it's clear.
Can make problems, can diseases to the Sudan and to the Egypt and to the other country. Now I hear that our brothers in Ethiopia, especially the government of Ethiopia, is going to fill the dams for Sudan and Egypt. Why
Thank you very much.
To do this?
Thank you, Mr. Shan. Thank you. Because of time, thank you very much. Okay.
My speech, brother Salah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for the first part of your question, we let Mr. Khalid from Sudan to answer this. The effect of climate, the dam. So come in, Mr. Khalid.
Good, thank you. The reality is that I don't want to go back. First of all, I'm very proud of being African, and I'm one of the believers of Pan-Africanism. And I read a lot about Mugabe, who was the leader who initiated this, and all these leaders. But being Pan-Africanism, not with narrow-minded and thinking that this thing can be achieved emotionally. It's not about emotion. It is about politics. And there is nothing we can talk about when we talk about problems. It is not just because we are brothers. Because brothers fight on, sometimes they have heritage and they fight on it. And until it gets resolved. And if it doesn't get resolved, it doesn't mean they can live together, because there is a problem that needs to be solved. I would like to say that in regard to the ecosystem and the impact of the dam on the people. And I'm going to share, if you can give me a chance, I will share this, I hope this, the photos, that shows the atrocities that, that is taking place in the area. I don't know how can share the file, but anyway, I'm trying to share the file, but I think I can't. I don't know. This is on the laptop. Okay. Anyway, what I would like to say is there is now a one lady who says that the human security dimension of dam development, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. This is the research which is done in Benishangul area and done in Blue Nile area. And as I said, the people who are working in the dam construction, there are over 12,000 people in my region in Benishangul. Imagine we don't have one person from Benishangul who was working in that, who is employed working there. The dam, the office, the center of the management office.
The question, I'm sorry, Mr. Khalid. The question is the effect of climate.
Okay, I would like to say this part of it, because people are not working there. Second, the dam office, which is managing the dam, instead of being in Asosa, the capital city of the region, it is not there. It is in Highlanders office, Highlanders region in Amhara. Not only that, this research has proved that the dam is going to cause a lot of death. First, the diseases that is going to be there. And over only the area, the people who were displaced, they say in the research there are 20,000. But there are not 20,000. There are over 50,000 people. But because the data was taken from the Abyssinians, they don't give the real. Because Ethiopia, historically, you need guys to read history. Whoever wants to know Ethiopia, need to read history. This lady has proven that there are 20,000 people who are going to be affected, who are displaced, and all these things. But in reality, there are over 50,000. And in Sudan, this is going to cause the death of thousands and thousands of people. And now, to prove that, today in Damazin, there is a report in Damazin, which is in Blue Nile, that before, if you dig to get water in Blue Nile, in Damazin, you have to dig for 70 meters to get water. Today, all the houses are collapsing due to the water, the underground water, because of the dam. And still, imagine, still they didn't fill the dam, but still now there is problem starting. And the other thing is, when there are atrocities and there is genocide that are committed nowadays for those Pan-Africanism, who are calling for Pan-Africanism, if you want this problem to be solved, I'm one of the supporters of Pan-Africanism. Ahmad have I read more than you do. But this problem needs to be fixed. You cannot tell me to believe in Pan-Africanism and it is the way that the way that they look to Africa, without looking at the main issues that are suffering, are making the people to suffer. If there are people who are genocide nowadays, I'm talking to you now, there are some people who are dying because they want to be displaced and they want to be evacuated and deprived of their own land because they are the indigenous, in order to bring some people from the highlanders to live there. The Omolabi, the Turkana lake, you know that the ecosystem that have been destroyed because of the Gilgil 1 and the Gilgil 2 and the Gilgil 3. So Ethiopia has to be held responsible, and they have to. It's not saying that we shouldn't say because everything we said that we don't want to believe in the colonial agreement. No one believes in it, but there are some realities that we have to take aboard. We have to discuss it. We have to solve it before just saying that the Westerns are not the problem. The Western has left Africa a long time ago. It is our problem as Africans. If Ethiopia wanted to solve this problem, they have to look at the ecosystem, the impact of the dam on the Benishangul people. And they have to talk with the intellectuals in that area to solve that problem. Then, after that, then we can look at what are the benefits. We compare the benefits and the cause, the damage that are caused by the dam. So people are dying, people are killed. If I say that in last October, over 10,000, over 600 people were killed in one day in Gawe area. In Gawe area, you can, if you want, I can send you a report. I can send you details. Please, be realistic and just don't talk about emotions. It's not about emotion. All of us want to see a day where Africa can be one of the best continents. And we, as African, we had one of the best civilizations in the history of human being. It is the Kushite, the Kush kingdom. These people, it is older than the Europeans, civilization by 10,000 years. Even the Greeks used to take the medication and the management from the Kushite kingdom and the Egyptian. So we have a lot of influence and a lot of impact of the history in the history of human being. But the problem is Ethiopia. Those who are thinking they are superior, you need to go to Ethiopia and see as African how you are going to be looked at. We shouldn't just talk as Africans, and we don't know the reality of how the mentality of Ethiopian. You need to understand the mentality of Ethiopian who are using Africans for their own benefit and putting pressure on Sudan and Egypt. I don't care about those countries because everybody can defend about Egypt because Egyptians can defend about themselves. But what I mean, if you want as Africans, in Benishangul have been impacted by this dam. And in Africa, if you want Africa to be stable and to go forward, one important thing is we cannot isolate Sudan and Egypt. Egypt is part and Sudan is part of Africa. And Ethiopia has to be responsible of any chaos. And Ethiopia had destroyed Somalia. Ethiopia had destroyed now northern Kenya. Now Ethiopia is destroying now Sudan and Egypt. Now they destroyed, they went to war with Eritrea and they destroyed it. So this is a systematic and orchestrated strategy for the Abyssinians to kill the entire African because they think they're superior and they're not from Africa. They say that's from Asia and all these things. So please, we need to be realistic. All of us want a prosper and stable Africa, but we need to be realistic and solve our own problem within ourselves by recognizing each other, not by killing each other, not by trying to say, oh, this guy, he doesn't look like me, beautiful and handsome, then I have to kill him to bring someone who looks beautiful. That is the system of Ethiopian. That is the way. Why don't you see the people from Low Omo? When you see the people from Low Omo, you won't believe. It is just, please send me your emails through Ustaz Salah. I will send you a lot of documents and the photos which can show the atrocities that are committed against all these people. And I think for me, as the indigenous people from Benishangul, it is a very good opportunity for me today to be connected with my brother Africans, because it is the first time for them to know that there are some people who are called Low Omo who are killed. There are some people who are called the Benishangul who are killed because of the water. There in Low Omo, the entire ecosystem has been destroyed because the dam, and they are having a sugar plantation. Sugarcane plantation. In Benishangul now, they are building this dam. Because of the power, they wanted to deprive us and to kill us, to exterminate us because of the dam. So please, be realistic, send me your email. I can send you a lot of documents, and then it is the opportunity for us to meet many times and to talk about the impact of this dam on Africans and the policies that is going to take place in Africa. It is not, there are a lot of challenges. There is a lot of challenges that is facing Africa, and these challenges as young Africans, we need to talk about this openly, with open mind, and we have to put pressure on the governments to be open at the same time in order to solve the problem of Africa.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Before Yafit comes in, I want to say something. I think that Khalid is being sentimental about this conversation, and Khalid needs to understand that the issues of crime within countries are issues that can be addressed. The issues of trans-border crimes are issues that can be addressed. We as the Pan-African Youth Union or as Africa would rise up and defend the rights of everybody irrespective of who you are. What Khalid needs to understand, and that point has to be made clearly, is that when we come as countries and we have a conversation about the Nile, if Khalid have specific issues happening within the territory of Ethiopia, that is an issue that can be raised from the national perspective, and then we can contribute to the defense of that. But when we are talking about Sudan, Egypt, Uganda, Kenya, and all countries that have got entitlements to the Nile, and how its potential can socio-economically empower and benefit the young people, these conversations do not arise. It is fine. People in Beni Jankul are killed, yes, we are now getting the information. People are not allowed, are being evacuated, people are not allowed. Those have got bearing on national discourse. And as a continent of Africa, we can have those conversations to say, look, there are human rights abuses in Ethiopia. Those are conversations that we can have. There are human rights abuses in Egypt. These are conversations that we can have. There are human rights violations and abuses in Sudan. These are conversations that we can have. However, if Khalid expects us, from either a multilateral point of view or from country point of view, to have a conversation around the potentials of the Nile, and then reduce that conversation into human rights abuses within certain territories, it will be very difficult. What we would expect to do is that the conversation around human rights abuses, the conversations around deprivation, around people not allowed access within their own countries or mishandles or racial discriminations, these are other subject matters that we can address. So if I would want us to have a conversation around the usage of the Nile, around how state parties can have a conversation of mutual respect, devoid of those sentiments. Because from the point that Khalid comes, it's like being extremely sentimental, and that kills the kind of conversation that we are going to have in respect of fostering unity within young people and putting a solid proposal before our government.
Sorry, Salah, because I have to give comment on what he said. You know, I think I have explained the ecosystem, the impact of ecosystem, but at the same time, just 1 second. At the same time, I have explained. Just wait, please. I have explained.
Because we are getting out of the point. Talking about.
Okay, wait a minute.
I want to give just a few minutes.
Because you have talked more than 10 minutes.
Yes, please, 1 second. In regard to the ecosystem, the impact of the Ethiopian dam on the African, on others, I have explained that what happened in the Turkana area, what is going to happen, what happened in Blue Nile, and what is going to happen based on the research that is done. And not only that.
Can I please, Mr. Khalid, in order for us to understand Salah, thank you. The first thing that Mr. Khalid needs to understand is that historically, what the base that you are trying to, so we shall not go to the speed because why this thing is coming, you know? I know why this thing is being raised, specifically at this time, and why someone would love to connect those unexisting codes and try to create something. Personally, I have gone to the Southern Momo. I have visited those communities, and not only that, I'm living with my friend who's from, as you said it. Can you turn off your mic, Salah? Salah, turn off your mic.
Yeah, yes.
Your mic, turn it off. So the basic concept that we need to talk about the basic concept we need to talk about is how to move forward. Now, we have a history. Yes, we do have a history. We have a history which makes us proud, and we have a history which makes us ashamed of ourselves as humans as a whole. Not because he's from that tribe. We are in a year of globalization. And I would love to recommend Mr. Khalid one book which is called The Collapse of Globalization. Maybe that would happen based on this book, which I really love, is when we think about some minor things than being a human, thinking about our basic needs as humans, talk about our ethnic groups, which does personally, if I got an accident, go to hospital, I'm not going to get Bertha or any kind of that, or because I'm Amhara or Tigray that I'm going to choose the Oromo or Tigray's blood. I'm going to choose O plus, which is not a tribe, or which is A plus or A minus. So let's be more than something that we are, you know. So in order to think about our history and talk about it, that's a very good thing. But it reminds me, the way you're speaking, it reminds me of one of the meetings of the Egyptians, where when we start the dam in 2011, they had a meeting in the parliament, in the cabinet, and they were talking about the same thing that you're talking about, mentioning the same kind of thing. So I'm not saying that you are part of that meeting, but I'm seeing some things which goes to your descriptions. But when I get back to why the Ethiopia is not consulting with those countries, specifically with those countries, we're not consulting with them, and we're proposing ideas how
talk about the damage in Lake Turkana. Talk about the damage that your country caused in Lake Turkana.
Okay, now let me go back to Turkana and answer that. If Salah can give me a minute, I will describe this. So there was a report before we finished the Gibe 3 that there was a report that the Lake Turkana would do this and that. But by the last 2019 rainy season, the UNESCO was one of them who were claiming that this thing happens and this and that. And I can give you, if you can send me your email, I can give you 2 or 3 or more than that, papers which are made that because of the dam, the flood has not reduced. There was no flood at all. And not only that, the biggest problem of those people was also flood. Now you're mentioning that the people were living in harmony, living like peacefully, and those, as you call them, the northern people came from the mountains and man, today there is no one which you can call from this tribe or that tribe. Your generation might think like that. Your generation, if you were Ethiopian, if you have been going...
Who's ruling now? Oromo are controlling. Tigray were controlling. And now Amar is ruling. Oromo is ruling. What are you talking about?
Your Mr. Khalid, we are educated.
Salah, please. You should stop this guy. And then now Yafet has to finish what he is saying.
Educated people. You don't have to. I love it if you can do that. See on not to help us anything. I'm not going to listen to you, and you're not going to listen to me. So when we talk about the problems that we have seen in the Omo region. In the Omo region, there were pastoralist people who were pastoralists and they cannot receive anything. But the basic and beautiful points, like the pastoralists in Afar, which Ethiopia and Eritrea was in a fight by the time, but nobody, either the Eritrean government or the Ethiopian government, cannot stop them. They can go wherever they want because you cannot control millions of people with all your soldiers is going to be put for one person. This cannot happen. Therefore, the Lord, the one who are across the border are coming to Ethiopia, do whatever they want, and go back there when the rainy season ended, because the water flow will continue. Because normally now you're making it depicting the image of hydroelectric dam as another thing. It must go out. Always, it must go out. It goes out. There is no famine. If there is, can you give me a data or a specific data of 2019, which WFP question of a famine on that region, or a drought even, because the regulation of rainy season and the water has been kept by giving. So when we talk about something, there is something called fact checking. See, fact checking. Most of the people in Egypt don't like that, or some other else also. So we don't have to do that. We have to be critical. We have to know the things that we are talking about, because fact checking. For example, next time when you speak, I'm not going to believe anything you're saying, because as Donald Trump said it, you are a fake news. I would say that. I'm not saying it now, but I would say it if you continue with this kind of data, which you grab from somewhere else and say that this thing happens. Yes, this thing happens in 2015. Is it happening in 2019? We have to see data. We have to see factualizing data. When you're mentioning about Minilik, by the way, Sheikh Ojale, the Minister of Finance of Minilik was Sheikh Ojale. There is a street named after him in Addis Ababa. This idea that Minilik conquered the other parts. There are letters, carbon-dated letters. What the Kush state that you're wishing, the Egyptians, which some are thinking about, is not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen now. It's not going to happen in your generation even, because the state that you're seeing right now is the only independent state. With Sheikh Ojale, if you are Bertha or anything that you would know him, but I don't think you're Bertha or anything, but you're just bringing some points from here and there, just mentioning it here, while we're trying to discuss a basic point. Now, when I get back to the use in relation to currently the use of Ethiopia, the use of Africa, the startups in Africa are looking for energy. My friend from South Sudan has mentioned being in a dark house, which is a very, very, very shameful thing that we are facing right now. As Ethiopian, if I were administrator, I would be ashamed for that. Personally, the only thing that we can change Ethiopia, we can change Sudan, which can change South Sudan, is through cooperation. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, basically, the basic point, there was a point being raised by the Sudanese government while we start Takazin 1, for example, when we start Takazin. But at the end of the point that they understood, all the politicians of Sudan are saying that yes, there must be a dam here because of a scientific fact. A scientific fact shows that Sudan and others can be more profitable. Sudan can use 200,000 hectares of land, a new land. Now, why is this thing being surprising for the others? Not only that, it creates jobs in Sudan. The revolution in Sudan is created by young people who wants job, who doesn't like job. So the same thing is happening. The same thing is happening when you are talking about corruption.
Can you give the chance? Can you give the chance to Mr. Khalid? Come on, Mr. Khalid.
Look. Let us be realistic. It is not about, when I talked about Benishangul, it was within the problem that is going on. But if you talk about the damage that is going to be caused by the dam to Sudan, it is very huge. And I will send you a report. Get through to Salah. I will send you the report about the Low Omo, what is happening in Low Omo, the ecosystem, how it has been destroyed by Gilgil 1 and the Gilgil 2 and Gilgil 3. I will send you all.
Can you please just mention that?
I have kept quiet, and let me finish. I will send you a report. I will send you a report where you can read that. And in regard to Sudan, the impact of the dam is going to be huge. First, there is no any guarantee. There is no any guarantee.
Numbers, please give me a number. Don't just say huge what? Just numbers.
This is a research now. And there are over 110,000 people are going to be affected in Blue Nile only in Blue Nile. 110, based on this research, are going to be affected by this dam. And not only that, the agriculture area, people relying on the agriculture, they are going to have a lot of problems because once you keep the water, there are many people who are not going to be able to irrigate their farms and all these things. And not only that, the electricity power is going to be reduced because Ethiopia is going to keep water behind the dam. Third thing, things that the ecosystem is going to be impacted and the disease is going to increase in Blue Nile and in Benishangul areas. And all these things, there are many research. The problem is that you guys, Ethiopia, you have been using the African organizations, and you are using the platform to say that there is nothing that is going to come out of this problem. But the problem, even when you deny the colonial agreements, how is denied? Now there is something that I want to read. This is written by Ethiopian. It's not written by me. It's written by Ethiopian. And how this is a research that is done in 1962, and it says that it is possible for the state in possession of this mountain to flood the valley of the Nile, or to make it a blistering desert at will. So what for Ethiopian, I don't think one day they are going to let the same damage that happened in Lake Turkana and to the Low Omo people is going to happen in Sudan. And that's why Ethiopia does not want to sit in negotiating table with these three countries to solve the problem. I believe that when Egypt went to America is after the negotiation collapsed among the three countries. And when they set the 2015 agreement, where they stated that if they didn't agree at a certain point, they can nominate any country to mediate. So, as you said, agree in that point. If those countries, they were supposed to sit and choose a country, whether African country, whatever they agree on, to solve the problem. But that didn't happen, and the issue was taken by America. And for us, as Africans, we are proud to solve our problem within ourselves. But Ethiopia always has used the forum and the negotiation not to sign agreement. They are deceptive in all their policies. And we can go back to the history to know the mentality of Ethiopian whenever they sign agreement. They come.
Yes, mentality free Mandela, by the way. Mandela is trained in Ethiopia, and Mugabe is also trained in Ethiopia with the mentality of being. I don't think that the point you are trying to raise, you're giving Salah, you must be.
Okay, my friends, we are going to
Salah.
Yes. I'm coming. David. Yes, David. Can you ask?
Yes.
I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry. David, I'm sorry. David, can you ask your question? Please, come on, David.
Yes, David, we continue.
Yes, David, come on.
Okay, thank you, Salah. Thank you for bringing all this issue to all of us. But my like prepare this meeting for us. I thought to discuss the Nile issue, but now what I am saying is about like previous history and some things histories which are not true at all. But if you guys see this book, this book is published by the Egyptian government, which is called Egypt and Africa. So they stated this Nile issue on page 113, and they since the three countries had some kind of agreement on the Nile River in 2015, but they only stated these colonial agreements, if you see in this page, which is started from 1891, which is signed by Italian and Egyptian, British, and 1902 and 1906 also, and 1925, even 1993. So all these agreements or articles are mentioning the like the Egyptian right over the Nile, which is not considered the right of other Nile basin countries. So what Egyptians have been trying is they have been trying to put this colonial agreement on the shoulder of the new. So we don't have the shoulder to carry any colonial agreement. So since thank you first for bringing this the Pan-Africanism ideologies. Salah, we know each other in Egypt. You are Sudanese. We were
Yes.
we were in the same room. We don't have difference whether I'm black or because of like our skin color or the size of our nose. It's about it's a matter of melanin, whether I'm black or white. It's not. It's the issue is not about who is black or who is white, who is dark or who is not dark. The issue is how can we solve our problem in peaceful way? How can we use our resource without harming our brothers and sisters? So my question for all the people who are attending this meeting are, as EUs, what kind of things shall we do? Like, what is the easiest thing that we will contribute to solve this disagreement between these Nile basin countries? For example, if you remember Salah and other people who were the member of this Nasser Fellowship, we brought an idea which is about saving the Nile. So, if you guys know, the Lake Tana is one of the source of the Blue Nile, which Ethiopia is the Nile River. So now there's some wheat which is growing on the Lake Tana. Even if Ethiopia will not this dam, so this will make this lake to dry, whether we build the dam or not. The ecosystem, the issue is, if we are talking about, so this weed not human made, is natural thing. So let us work together to save the Lake Tana, and let us discuss each other. Like, let us sit on table and bring our issues and contribute something for this peaceful agreement, rather than debating about our ancestors' history. Because, you know, past is past. We cannot correct the past, but we can make the future much better than the past. So we are sitting on the right moment, the right time. Mr. What is this? Whether you are Ethiopian or Sudanese, you are our brother. It doesn't matter whether as you mentioned, we are like building the dam and we are moving some beautiful people from the highland area to, who said those people who live in that area, they are not beautiful? Because beauty is not about being black or not. It's about people's mentality, people's ideology, and being positive for one another. So my question for all of you guys, first for Salah, ask a host of this meeting. First, you have to control the meeting. First, that's the question for you. For other people who are attending this meeting, my question is, please let us like bring some idea, like small idea, which will grow bigger and bigger later. So, and work on that, and let us make shine the ideology of Pan-Africanism. As brothers and sisters, I'm the keeper of my brothers and sisters. Salah is my keeper, and because he's my brother. So I don't want Salah or my brother in Egypt to be harmed by the dam or something. You know, let us, like, today is the first day, rather than like debating or bringing some kind of history. Let us like rise a single good idea.
Okay, thank you.
Work on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. We'll set that why we should go just for these differences and differences. Let us to start to bring new idea. Come on, as Africans. Come on, Mr. Book.
Salah.
Can I let Dr. Paul say something?
I think my brothers we are trying to deviate from the agenda. First and foremost, I would like to ask maybe just a simple question that shouldn't be quoted out of context. I would like to ask Khalid, what will happen if at all Ethiopia continues and does the completion of the dam? And secondly, to Yafet, what will happen?
Again. Can you repeat that question again?
I wanted to know what will happen if Ethiopia continues with the completion of its dam and it starts its operationalization. Secondly, to Yafet, what will happen if at all Egypt and Sudan never whatsoever agrees to the dam project? So what will the three countries do if at all the agreement on table fails? But the other important thing to know is that whatever the process is aimed at sorting the misunderstanding, it is out of mutual benefit. But ideally, all these countries have the power to independently partake in the projects that they deem fit for the benefit of their people. Third to that, we as young people on the African continent, we need to desist, first of all, from the negative propaganda that is, one, comes from the West, two, that even comes from our independent African countries. For example, in Ethiopia, they will tell their Ethiopians propaganda about the Nile that is within their interests. Something that will happen in Egypt, something that will happen in Sudan, and all these other countries. So as we people in the 21st century, we need to look beyond those negative propagation that will actually end up causing ourselves to fight. The other thing, my brothers, I want us to understand, for example, if we live here and we go to, say, the United States or the United Kingdom, I am from Uganda. Why is it so easy that if I find a brother from South Sudan or Sudan in the US and he tells me he's from Africa, I feel so entitled. He becomes so close to me, rather than us sharing our uniqueness as Africans on our African continent. So what is the issue? The other thing, someone was saying that the most challenging times we are living in today is actually bigger than the colonial times. The issue is that our colonial master today is invisible. One, they go through our leaders, they go through our young people, they go through all sorts of non-government organizations pretending to help. The issue is, as Africans, we need to rebrand ourselves from the Western kind of mentality and sort things by ourselves. So that is the clarification I wanted to make, Mr. Salah. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have Yusuf from Ethiopia. He have also comment. So can you come inside?
Salah,
Hello,
Can you
Yusuf.
hear me?
Yes, come on.
Yeah. Okay, can you hear me now, Salah?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, thank you so much to give me this chance. First of all, I would like to thank for the people who is arranging this discussion. I mean, it's a good starting to have such kind of discussion on the mutual benefit issues like Nile. But I have few points to raise. The first thing, when we have such kind of discussion, it should be in the polite way. Okay, I was expecting very intellectual points from this discussion, but honestly, it was like not important argument about false history. Maybe because we have a generation gap. So the Yafet, he was mentioned the right thing, and then the other guy was responding in the wrong way. So we cannot understand forever in this way. So Salah, you should lead the meeting on the right way. So this is the discussion between countries: Ethiopia, Egypt, Sudan, Uganda. That's it. Maybe this guy has an internal issue with us. So this issue has to treat internally, not outsidely. So if he wants to,
And democracy, my brother, you have to listen for different angle. Okay.
Yes, let me finish,
Yeah.
Salah. But the topic is not about listening the difference between us. So it's good. Maybe he can raise a lot of things. Then we can handle it in the future about human rights and everything. But now the topic is Nile, other neighbor countries. So next time we should have it in the right way. The argument is not important at all. So Brother Dawit mentioned, I recommend you guys the challenge on the Nile. The challenge is now it's the weed. So how can we remove this weed and then increase the volume of the water to share the water equally with our neighbor country? That should be the point, not the necessarily pointers. So please, Salah, control the meeting. And then, Yafet, thank you so much for giving us even a lecture. So please keep it up like that. If you have the other
Thank
guys,
you. Thank you very much. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, guys, to join us here. Okay? As
shall I answer the question?
just please, I just because of times we don't have that too much times. We just now we are in the last topic for this. I would thank all of you to join us here. I just let 3 minutes or 5 minutes to Mr. Benin, because Benin will present it all now. It's a huge organization as Pan Africa US Unions. I just want to ask Benin, as I'm hosting now these meetings, Mr. Benin, my chief, which kind of initiative you are going to hold to us as we are African youth to solve these kind of issues and to help our governors to push all these issues to stay away, to stay in this country as brothers and in unity and integrity sides. So can you just give us the idea into 3 minutes, and then we can finish the meeting. Thank you very much. Hello, Mr. Benin.
I think Mr. Benin is out. Ahmad Benin is out.
Yeah, okay. Okay. For this, I'm just to all of you to thank all of you for this kind of discussions because we need this discussion to be continuously and to be regularly so we can share our ideas. We can uh, we can create nice initiatives with us. I'm going to thank all of you there. The panelists, Yafit from Ethiopia, Mr. Khalid from Sudan, staying in Australia, our brother Dr. Boone from Uganda, our chief Mr. Ahmad from Sudan, and all of you. We can come again and we can continuously to discuss about African issues, and of course one day we will.
Salah, excuse me,
Yeah.
Salah. There was a question raised by Dr. Paul. I think we should answer the question in
Okay, let us have it. Let us to go with that things. All thank all of you guys and see you on the groups. And of course, we can come again with Egyptian news and Egyptian speakers, Sudanese speakers, and Ethiopians. We believe that we are belong to this kind of to this huge of continent, and of course, we can live together and go together. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Salah, can you hear me?
Yes, Chief, Mr. Benny.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Salah.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I think finally what I would say, it's been an interesting conversation. I recognize that it's been a little bit heated because it's the first meeting. But there are two simple things that I want us to put on the table. That as young people, we cannot inherit negativity and pretend to be moving forward. It's good to recognize that there are challenges, and it's good to recognize that those challenges need to be addressed. How and those emerging issues have to do with even the way that we have decided to reform our regional organization, which is the African Union. And our countries to even sign up to a document like Agenda 2063 tells us that we have moved past certain, and as young, like I said earlier, our preoccupation is going to be there are challenges, yes, there's a crisis. How do we, in the midst of these crises, optimize the potential that the Nile presents so that it's who is in Ethiopia or any young Ethiopian can decide to partner with another Sudanese, what the challenges are, to build a business around the Nile. That can decide to partner with a Ugandan or a Ethiopian and build a business around the Nile, all in anticipation of achieving the Africa we want. And so that is how I want it. So the politics would always exist. Even in families, we have the politics. But I think that as young people, our recognition of the politics should only be a guiding principle on how we proceed. Because look, we can talk about this politics all day long. We can talk about all this history all day long. Once there's no food on the table for somebody in Egypt, in Sudan, in Ethiopia, all this politics comes to zero. What we need to also understand as young people is that all politicians and all these governments care about a specific interest. The first question we should need to ask ourselves is that we factored into that interest. If no, then we must begin to develop innovative ways of the policy and building an economy that empowers us and lifts us above poverty, and that we can impact on our society. So that even when there are human rights issues, as Khalid raised, when you have resources and you begin to speak on human rights, people would listen. If Dangote decides to speak on human rights, everybody would listen. Where young people need to be looking at. Finally, we need to focus attention on innovative ways of addressing our issues and also adopting IT technology spaces to unite us, spaces to meander around the politics, and then build solid system for ourselves. So these are going to be my conclusive remarks, and I hope that moving forward, we'll be able to have very candid conversations around how to develop a system that will bring about prosperity in Africa. Salah.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, okay, I'm just going to give 1 minute for each panelist to start these meetings and to just say positive things. We are not going to talk about the differentiation. I will go to the Mr. Khalid and then I will jump to Dr. Paul, and lastly take Yafik as the last. Okay, Dr. Khalid.
It is very important to okay. My brother Ethiopians, they always want one side. One side is not going to work. You have to listen to all sides and all the concerns. Then, guess what? We will solve the problem. I hope all this discussion goes forward and it keeps going, because if we just want one side, we are not going to solve it. But if we listen to each other, one day we will go to the point where we can agree, as long as we all believe in Africanism, and as long as all of us wanted the Africa to prosper and develop. But we need to listen to each other. We need to consider each other. That's the only way that we can solve our problem and go forward. Thank you for everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Dr. Paul.
Yes, my brother. Yeah, thank you for this innovative approach. I believe if we continue having such healthy discussions on a number of issues, even beyond the Nile issues, we will be able to develop as Africans, but also be able to reach out to each other, even in these lockdown times. And as I conclude, I would just want to wish everyone well and assure that we have everyone in our prayers to forego this COVID challenge, and we believe at the right time we shall overcome and we shall see a prosperous Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Yafik.
Thank you very much, Salah. There was this problem which has been raised, and I want to answer by a question for Dr. Paul. What will happen?
That's the question, yeah. Just say something.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to answer it through this way. What will happen if Ethiopia continues repeating the dam? What will happen after 2 years? Ethiopia is going to generate the first turbine is going to start in October. And we have tried for the last 10 years, for the last 20 years, we have tried to negotiate and talk, while we have 40 years of famine and drought. So the question of refilling and starting energy, starting our ecosystem is the one thing. So I would like to invite Mr. Salah and all of you from Sudan, including people from Egypt and puppets from Egypt also, to come to Ethiopia and plant trees. Because the rain doesn't come because we pray for it. It comes when we have a vegetation. That's an ecological fact. So all of you, I would love to invite all Egyptians, all Sudanese, our brothers, to come and bring yourself here in Addis. We're planning to plant over 5 billion trees, because as you know, trees are the most important things in order to get rain. So we have a vision, not only for here. When we build the dam, it's not only building a dam. We will have more. Even when we build the dam, we're going to save 4 billion cubic meters, which is not going to evaporate because it's a lower place that we are building the dam from, at the higher place than Sudan and Egypt, because they are in flat surface. Ethiopia has the mountains. So when we have built such kind of dam, we will have the evaporation will decrease. That's a scientific fact. I'm not bringing it from my pocket. So such kind of steps that we're going to take will change Africa. When we design a project in Sudan, for example, after the dam, Sudan, based on the panel of experts I'm talking about not some data I see on the internet. I'm talking about the document. Based on that document, Sudan is going to get 200 hectares of land. The food is going to be produced there. Ethiopia's coastal. Wait, let me think. Ethiopia is exporting wheat and other materials from outside. Now we can get it from Sudan. Having a common country, which is called the United States of Africa, can be achieved when we think about beyond ourselves. That's what our ancestors, like Sheikh Ojani, have taught us. If others could hear about Sheikh Ojani's story, that would be nice, but I'm not going to talk about it. So the United States of Africa can only be achieved when we think our projects beyond ourselves, beyond our generations. Agreements beyond ourselves, beyond our generations. The past is given to us to look what mistakes we have done, but the future is in front of us. If a person is looking only behind him, he will fall down in some kind of way. But if he's thinking about the past as an experience and go to the future, I think we're going to have a better Africa as we have wished for. Thank you very much.
I thank all of you, and I hope this discussion will be continued with us as we are African, and of course we will achieve our goals one day. Thank you very much to join me here today, and we hope to see you again. Thank you very much.